Hello, everyone, and welcome to week 3, which is on the changing roles of researchers in transdisciplinarity. The material this week builds on that from last week and explores what it means to be a transdisciplinary researcher, especially in the context of engaging with other people, the stakeholders involved in your research projects. Now, there are different types of stakeholders, which may include other researchers, the beneficiaries of the research, intermediary parties such as NGOs or the government, and other service providers, funders, the list goes on. Each of these will have a different role and will require a different type of engagement. But some critical questions apply in all cases, and these are discussed in this week's reading. They are, paraphrasing, how do I engage in an ethical manner? And what does it look like to engage across different cultures? And how can I harness the diversity to co-design innovative approaches and ideas? All of these questions have been at the core of my own research interests, working at the intersection of First Nations Australians and Western knowledge systems and ways of knowing, doing, and being. And in the beginning, I was really quite worried about these aspects. It was all very new to me at the time. But over time, it's really become a strength that I've been able to build on. So don't be too put off if you're feeling a little bit nervous about this. It's quite normal at the early stages. So for example, when I first started, I utilized a normative framework of social justice and ethics called the capability approach. And it's a fairly flexible framework. I was able to apply it and find it to be compatible with both First Nations Australians and Western cultures. But then over time, I also learned more about Indigenous approaches to ethics and how to be a good ally. And I've recently written a paper, co-authored with some of my First Nations colleagues, about engaging with First Nations Australian in the context of engineering education, which I'm hoping to have published soon. Let me know if you'd like to see a sneak preview. I found that if you're working with people from different cultural backgrounds, like First Nations Australians, then the research really has to be approved by and beneficial to the people in their country on their terms. Academic ethical considerations are very much secondary. Something else I learned was that engaging across cultures first and foremost requires an understanding of your own culture. Now, some people think of culture as more the artifacts, such as the clothing, the food or cuisine, the tools they use, ceremonies, and so on. But culture's more about how you see the world instead of what you see. We all make assumptions about what people value and how they behave, and we all carry subconscious biases, unconscious biases. So if you wish to better understand how other people see the world, you first really need to understand how you see the world so that you can better manage your own assumptions and biases when you're interpreting the words and the actions of other stakeholders. The same applies with design thinking, which is kind of broadly understood as this sort of non-linear iterative process where teams use these processes to understand their users, to challenge assumptions, to redefine problems, and to create innovative solutions. But different cultures have different understandings of the processes of design and innovation. So you really do need to be clear that you're talking about the same things and be very clear about the approaches, processes, and tools that you'll be adopting and adapting when doing so. It really does help to be open and transparent and really make sure you are talking about the same thing. And a good tool I've found to do that is something called conceptual maps. And that's because each concept, like design or innovation, is only understood in relation to other concepts. And so as you build up this picture or this conceptual map, you really do get a better idea of what it is that different people are talking about, even if you're using the same words. We all know that misunderstandings are something you really want to try and minimize in any context, but especially in transdisciplinary research because of the complex nature. What else was there? So there were a number of other challenges to doing transdisciplinary research that were raised in the material, from logistical challenges to challenges associated with career development. And all of these should be given due consideration. So for example, who is really going to be willing to support your research at your university? There's a saying that it takes a community to raise a child, and I believe the same is true for doing any research, but especially true for transdisciplinary research. So find your community, find the people that can really help make this happen, both within the university and then outside with your other stakeholders. There really is a lot of food for thought in this week's reading, so I really do encourage you to not only do the readings, but to participate as actively as you can in the forums. As the more actively you engage with these topics, the better place you'll be to make sure that your research provides the most sustainable benefit to the right people in the right ways. I believe we also have a live chat this week, which is something I'm really looking forward to, and I hope to see as many of you there as possible. So that's it from me for now, and we'll chat online very soon. Thanks a lot.